Tim, as we see these pictures, the other elements, of course, are the rusty old railings, the unpainted concrete.
These were Saddam Hussein's last moments on Earth. He was the man behind Iraq's weapons of mass destruction, but taking him down was more than difficult. While the British took Basrah, the Americans journeyed north to take Baghdad, the capital of Iraq. And only after all of this did they have to find Iraq's brutal dictator if they ever hoped to disarm the weapons of mass destruction. But there was one major problem. Even after all this bloodshed, they didn't find any weapons of mass destruction. So what was the point of this war? Chapter 1. Battle Backstory. In late 2002, America stood under the long shadow of 9/11, and the Bush administration declared Iraq its next axis of evil, lumping Saddam Hussein's regime in with Iran and North Korea.
These regimes pose a grave and growing danger.
In his 2002 State of the Union address, President Bush warned of grave and growing danger from nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons, saying he would not wait on events while dangers gather.
I will not wait on events while dangers gather. I will not stand by as peril draws closer and closer.
Behind this rhetoric lay intelligence reports hinting at Iraq hiding documents and materials from UN inspectors, though later investigations cast doubt on how definitive that evidence was. By November 2002, the United Nations Security Council passed Resolution 1441, offering Iraq a final opportunity to comply with disarmament. The resolution warned of serious consequences, but stopped short of authorizing military action. Meanwhile, U.S. diplomat Colin Powell, before the Security Council on February 5, 2003, claimed Saddam was working to acquire nuclear-capable components, a key moment in building public support for military action. Yet the world pushed back hard. Between January and April 2003, around 36 million people participated in nearly 3,000 anti-war protests globally. The biggest single day was February 15, 2003, when between 6 and 10 million demonstrators rallied in over 600 cities across some 60 countries. Rome hosted the largest gathering, with about 3 million people marching under the slogan, "Stop the war, no ifs or buts." A turnout so huge the Guinness Book of World Records declared it the largest anti-war rally in history. London and Madrid each saw between 1 and 2 million protesters, while cities like Berlin drew 300,000 to 500,000. Even in McMurdo Station, Antarctica, scientists held a remote peace vigil. Despite the enormous public outcry, the US, UK, Australia, and Poland formed a coalition of the willing and pressed ahead. France, Germany, Russia, and others in the UN vocally opposed the invasion, but without a new UN mandate, voices of dissent fell silent as the coalition began its preparations. This clash of forces set the stage. On one side, a cadre of Western leaders warning the world of an imminent mushroom cloud, backed by intelligence they described as conclusive. On the other, a world massed in protest, united in disbelief that war, something so final, could be justified on such contested grounds. It was against this fraught, polarized backdrop that in March 2003, the US launched Operation Iraqi Freedom, and in just 5 days, toppled a dictator whose regime had defined a nation for decades. Before we move on to the next section, please don't forget to subscribe if you liked the video so far. Chapter 2. Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Are now past diplomacy. Various Special Forces teams and the CIA's Special Activities Division begin their own infiltrations across the Iraqi border, awaiting the beginning.
On the night of March 20th, 2003, the US and its allies launched the opening salvo of Operation Iraqi Freedom, calling their strategy shock and awe. At about 2:30 UTC, the skies over Baghdad erupted.
By approximately 40 Tomahawk cruise missiles from US Navy battle groups in the Persian Gulf and a submarine in the Red Sea.
The US Navy and Air Force unleashed roughly 36 Tomahawk cruise missiles, combined with 2 F-117 stealth aircraft, dropping massive GBU-27 bunker busters near suspected regime bunkers, even though later reports revealed that the targeted bunker didn't exist. Moments later, a tidal wave of airstrikes ripped through government command centers, security infrastructure, communication hubs, and air defenses throughout the city. In total, over 1,700 air sorties were flown in the first phase, including 504 cruise missile strikes, designed to paralyze Iraq's leadership and sabotage military response. The spectacle was brutal and precise. Night vision footage showed towers of smoke and flashes of burnt pink clouds rising above Baghdad, a surreal image broadcast live around the world. By dawn, elite U.S. ground forces had begun their push. Special operators, paratroopers, and armored brigades surged from the desert, securing key border crossings, airports, and highway junctions. Within 5 days, the coalition force comprised some 160,000 troops, around 130,000 American, 45,000 British, and additional units from Australia and Poland. These units raced northward and westward, encircling cities like Basrah, Mosul, and Tikrit, dismantling Iraqi command posts and isolating regime strongholds. The idea behind shock and awe was simple: strike so hard and fast that the enemy crumbles mentally and physically. As Harlan Ullman, the doctrine's founder, predicted, in 2, 3, 4, 5 days, Iraq is physically, emotionally, and psychologically exhausted. The numbers bear that out. By April, the Iraq Body Count Project reported around 6,700 civilian deaths during the invasion phase, a tragic testament to the campaign's ferocity. Despite the rapid dominance, pockets of Iraqi forces fought back. In Basrah, precision strikes mistakenly hit civilian areas, claiming dozens of lives, including one notable attack on a family home on April 5th. Yet overall resistance collapsed quickly. On April 5th, U.S. forces carried out the famed Thunder Run, a decisive armored incursion into Baghdad that pierced the city's defenses and essentially ended organized resistance. Within 5 days, Baghdad was encircled, and government command was in disarray. The dictator's rule, built over decades, came crashing down under a combination of devastating air power and lightning-fast ground advances. Operation Shock and Awe demonstrated the raw might of modern precision warfare and began a controversial chapter in history, whose consequences would echo for years. Chapter 3: The Fall of Baghdad.
Before they slip away into the darkness, they have suffered only 1 wounded and no fatalities. Many Republican Guardsmen have been killed.
On April 9, 2003, after just 3 weeks of U.S.-led operations, American troops entered central Baghdad. Saddam Hussein's regime collapsed almost instantly. In one of the most iconic images of the war, Marines and Iraqi civilians pulled down a 12-meter-tall statue of Saddam in Firdos Square using a U.S. recovery vehicle. The moment, broadcast worldwide, became the symbolic end of his dictatorship. The Battle of Baghdad had seen around 30,000 coalition troops confront 45,000 Iraqi defenders. By the time U.S. forces reached the city center, resistance had mostly collapsed. Marines reported little enemy fire and surreal encounters with locals who offered tea and thanks. But the city was unraveling. Sabotaged oil fields burned, black smoke filled the sky, and looters ransacked government buildings, museums, and even the Baghdad Zoo, where over 95% of animals died amid the chaos. Scenes of cheering Iraqis grabbing gold, medicine, and priceless artifacts filled TV screens. Hours after the fall, General Tommy Franks declared major combat over. On May 1st, President George W. Bush stood under a mission accomplished banner aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln and announced the end of major operations. At that moment, 104 U.S. troops had died. Thousands more would follow. The fall of Baghdad was swift and dramatic, but it was not the end. The images of victory masked a deeper instability. With Saddam gone, Iraq spiraled into insurgency, sectarian violence, and years of bloody conflict. The mission, it turned out, was far from accomplished. Want to understand the world better? Start with history and subscribe to our channel. Chapter 4: Hunt for Hussein. After the fall of Baghdad in April 2003, Saddam Hussein disappeared into the deserts of Salah al-Din province with a few loyal followers. The U.S. immediately launched one of the largest manhunts in modern history, naming him High-Value Target Number 1. Special Operations Forces, including Task Force 121, conducted over 600 missions and nearly 300 interrogations between July and December 2003, offering a $25 million reward for Saddam and another $30 million for his sons Uday and Qusay. On July 22, 2003, U.S. troops located the two sons in a safe house in Mosul. After a 4-hour battle involving more than 240 soldiers, heavy weapons and air support, both were killed along with Qusay's teenage son and a bodyguard. Their deaths shattered the last remnants of Saddam's core circle. The decisive moment came on December 13, 2003. In Operation Red Dawn, U.S. forces found Saddam hiding in a small underground bunker, dubbed the Spider Hole, just outside Tikrit. He surrendered without resistance, armed with only a pistol. Coalition Administrator L. Paul Bremer made the famous announcement, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him." Saddam was later tried by the Iraqi Special Tribunal for crimes against humanity, particularly for the 1982 Dujail massacre of 148 Shiite civilians. He was found guilty and sentenced to death. On December 30, 2006, Saddam was hanged at Camp Justice in Baghdad. His body was buried near his hometown alongside his sons. His execution marked the brutal end of a dictator, but it also ushered in a new era of chaos as Iraq spiraled into insurgency, sectarian warfare, and long-term instability that would haunt the region for years to come. But what do you think? Did executing Saddam Hussein truly bring justice to Iraq, or did it open the gates to even more bloodshed, instability, and extremism that still haunts the region today? Let us know in the comments below. Here's another video history buffs enjoyed watching. Bye for now.